Hello and welcome to episode 2 of IOnTheTigers, a podcast taking a look at the National Ice Hockey League whilst always having an eye on the Telford Tigers. This week what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the league and the changes that have been since last season. I'm going to split it up into a couple of different categories, 3 different categories, so changes that I like, changes that let's see how they go, and changes that I'm not keen on. So, with no further ado, let's jump into what I do like. And first off, we welcome a new team, Solway Sharks. They join the league. They take the place of Basingstoke Bison, who sadly won't be icing this season. Hopefully we'll see them back for the 2024-2025 season. But yes, so we get to welcome a new team, Solway Sharks. I think it's a good thing. I think perhaps it's an indication that the sport is growing, maybe. Feel free to leave a comment if you agree, disagree on that point. But yeah, it will certainly be great to have a new team in the league. Be interesting to see how well they do stepping up a league. They've been pretty dominant in NIHL 1 North. Let's see how they fare in the National League. But certainly the early signs perhaps seem to be quite encouraging with some of the signings that they make. But no doubt we'll cover that in a bit more detail in future episodes. Also, another change that I like is we're increasing the number of non-British trained players. So it's gone up from 2 to 3. I think it's a good move, a positive move. Be good to see just the extra import, I guess, in old money and what difference that will make. I think what I'm really looking forward to seeing is how teams use that extra spot. A lot of teams for the past couple of seasons have taken the approach of having 2 forwards. So what I'll be interested to see is, are we going to see teams go with 3 forwards or 2 forwards and a defenseman? Certainly to date, the only team that's gone down the route of an import netminder are the Bees. So it would be slightly different for them. Be interested to see if they stick with 2 forwards or split their remaining 2 spots between a defenseman and a forward. But yeah, be interested to see what the teams do, how they manage or juggle or balance that out. I think the only thing that I don't like about it, or I'm not completely sold on, is that there's no restrictions on how many can be on ice at one time. Personally, I'd like to see a limit of no more than 2 non-British trained players on ice at the moment, but let's see how that goes. Speaking of how things go as well, there are age restrictions now in the league. So apologies, I've got it just on another screen next to me whilst I read these and make sure I get them right. So the age restrictions are as follows. So you can have 11, 25 and older players, 4 players under 25, 2 players under 21s and 2 players under 18. And also there's 3 non-British trained players that you can have. It does promote development, insisting that teams have got to have players under a certain age. It's definitely good for development. My only question would be, where do players go next? The number of British trained players in the Elite League has declined by a spot per team. And perhaps this is a separate discussion, but certainly what I've seen on social media platforms is there have been discussions about how much the Elite League teams do to promote or encourage British talent coming through. That's a completely separate topic. If I start getting into that, this would be an incredibly lengthy video, I think, which is certainly not the aim. So yes, there is a question of where do the players go next. Also, it's all well and good saying that, yes, there are going to be, for example, 2 under 21 players. But what kind of opportunities are they going to get? Are they going to be getting big minutes? Are they going to be getting power play opportunities, penalty kill opportunities? If a game's close, how much ice time will they get? Or will we see benches shortened? I think it should be positive, but I'm waiting to see how it works in practice on this one. I think my other concern around it is with the restriction on the players aged 25 and older. Once you get beyond that, where do you go? If you're not making a step up to the Elite League and there's not enough spots in the National League, it's either stopping your career or stepping down a level. So I'm not completely sold on this one yet. I'll be interested to see how it works in practice. The other change that I'm not completely sold on is the playoff format. Not on the positive side, it gives extra games because instead of just being sort of a straight knockout as it was last season, so over 2 legs in the quarterfinals, It's now going back to two groups of four, which we saw a few years ago. So it definitely does give extra games, but I feel that is to the benefit of the higher placed teams. Now, there is probably an argument that if they finished higher in the league, they should get some benefit. But I think my concern more stems from the fact of are we going to end up effectively seeing dead games? So, if we end up in a situation where there's one team that have already qualified for the Final Four weekend, another team that have got no chance of making the Final Four weekend, what kind of a game, what kind of a spectacle is that going to be? I don't know. Let's see how it goes, though. With any luck, it'll be really tight and all the games will have something riding on them. Finally, something that I don't like, there's only one thing about the changes. This might end up being the most controversial as well, I feel. 11 teams. I've said it is great to have Solway in and, very happy to see them making the step up, but I don't like there being an odd number of teams. There are 54 games in the season. Some teams you're going to play 6 times, some games you're going to play 5 times. Now, depending on which teams you play 6 times and which teams you play 5 times, it could work out being beneficial to some teams than others. It could then have an impact on who perhaps makes the playoffs or who wins the league, whatever it might be. My personal feeling is, in a league, you should play each team the same number of times. I know it's probably controversial. It's probably the one that most likely to perhaps start generating comments, debate and discussion. It is just a personal feeling. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who will be happy with that, will like it, will embrace it as being part of the league. But that's just my personal thoughts. Any comments, any thoughts about any of the changes, the rules, the structure, the format, whether you agree, disagree, whatever it is, please feel free to leave a comment, engage, get involved, and I look forward to seeing you back next week, again at 7 o'clock on Tuesday evening, where what we'll do is I'm going to take a look at last season, who did what, of course, kicking off with Telford Tigers and how they performed. So look forward to reading your comments and engaging with you over the upcoming week. Bye for now.